Welcome back to Starz Recapped, the channel where we break down your favorite movies into thrilling, bite-sized explanations. Today, we're diving into the intense spy thriller Red Sparrow, 2018. Starring Jennifer Lawrence, this movie takes us deep inside the world of Russian intelligence, secret missions, and dangerous seduction. In this recap, we'll follow Dominika Egorova, a former ballerina forced into a brutal espionage program known as the Sparrow School. Trained to use her mind, body, and manipulation as weapons, she's thrown into a high-stakes game between the CIA and Russian intelligence. But in a world built on lies and betrayal, who can she really trust? If you love spy movies, Russian espionage thrillers, and Jennifer Lawrence's most daring role, then this breakdown of Red Sparrow is for you. Stick around as we explain the full story with all its shocking twists and turns. This young woman, known for always wearing a crown on stage, is the star ballerina of one of Russia's most prestigious theaters. With her elegance and beauty, she constantly draws the attention of powerful and wealthy admirers. But her name is Dominika, and despite all the glamour, her heart remains dedicated to one thing: dancing. She pushes herself not just for passion, but also because her mother suffers from a serious leg condition. The theater provides them with housing and access to medical treatment, but only as long as Dominika maintains her place at the top. Everything seems steady until one night, during a performance, tragedy strikes. While dancing, her partner makes a terrible mistake, stepping on her leg with full force. The injury shatters her future in an instant. When Dominika regains consciousness, she finds herself in a hospital bed. Metal rods and pins hold her leg together, the harsh reality that her career as a dancer is finished. Months later, she is discharged and begins walking again, though her world has already changed forever. Returning home, she discovers someone waiting, her uncle Ivan. He's not an ordinary man. He's a high-ranking officer in Russian intelligence. Although rarely visiting due to his demanding work, this time he has something important for her. As she serves him tea, Ivan offers her a way forward in life and quietly leaves behind a file that will alter her destiny. After Ivan left, Dominika couldn't resist checking the file he had slipped to her. Inside, she discovered an old tape recorder along with a pile of photographs. Pressing play, she listened in shock. It was her dance partner, secretly recorded while talking to another ballerina. The truth was brutal. This woman had schemed to steal Dominika's spotlight, seducing her partner and plotting the very accident that ended her career. Consumed with anger, Dominika stormed back to the theater. She found the pair together in the bathroom and lashed out with a stick. But once the fury settled, panic rushed in. Afraid she might have gone too far, she fled the scene, dialing for an ambulance as she escaped. Back home, her heart sank further. Her mother lay suffering on the floor. The theater had cut off their support, meaning the caretaker no longer came. Now, with her career destroyed and her mother's health failing, Dominika felt trapped. Desperate, she turned again to her uncle Ivan. But being a high-ranking officer in Russian intelligence, Ivan was not a man who gave help freely, not even to family. If she wanted his assistance, she would need to repay him. He handed her instructions. Friday night, a luxury hotel. She was to dress elegantly, sit in the lobby, and catch the attention of a powerful tycoon named Dmitri. Her mission? Gain his trust, lead him upstairs, and switch his phone while he was distracted. But the plan spiraled out of control. Dmitri turned violent, and just when things were about to take a dark turn, an assassin suddenly appeared. With ruthless precision, he strangled Dmitri to death. Terrified, Dominika had no choice but to follow his commands. The masked killer led her through the hotel, eliminating guards along the way, until finally bringing her to a hidden chamber. There, the assassin revealed his face, and moments later, even walked in. His demeanor had changed entirely. Cold, calculating, merciless. He gave Dominika only two choices: disappear forever or undergo training to serve the state as a spy. With no way out, she accepted. Before leaving, she visited her mother one last time. Her mother's parting words were simple yet haunting. With your uncle, always protect yourself and never cut off your escape. Soon after, a car carried Dominika along snow-covered roads into the icy wilderness of Siberia. Her destination, a secret military facility known as School Number 4. There, a stern female instructor welcomed her and laid down the rules. True identities were forbidden. Every recruit would be stripped of their past. They were simply called sparrows. Young men and women gathered from across the nation. Their lessons would be unlike anything Dominika had ever known, learning to uncover an enemy's weaknesses and exploit them without mercy. After laying out the harsh rules, the female instructor decided to test Dominika in front of the entire class. She called her and a male trainee to the front and ordered them to strip completely. Dominika was stunned, but the instructor made it clear their bodies no longer belonged to themselves, but to the state. To serve the country, they had to abandon shame, morals, and personal dignity. From that day forward, Dominika's training intensified. Alongside these brutal psychological tests, she mastered skills like marksmanship, surveillance, lockpicking, and tailing a target. As Ivan once predicted, she was a natural. Her quick learning and sharp instincts made her stand out among the others. But with success came jealousy. One evening, while Dominika was showering, a fellow male trainee cornered her. Resentful of her constant excellence, he tried to overpower her. But Dominika wasn't one to be subdued. She fought back with a steel handle and dropped him to the floor. The incident brought her before the headmaster, but instead of punishment, she was observed more closely. Soon after, her female instructor publicly tested her again. She ordered Dominika to face that same trainee and give him what he wanted. The boy demanded control, but Dominika flipped the script, stripping in front of him without hesitation. Her fearless defiance broke his confidence. The desire to dominate vanished. He left humiliated, proving that true power lies not in the body, but in the mind. The headmaster recognized her gift, the rare ability to read people and exploit their weaknesses. For that, Dominika was allowed to graduate from Sparrow School and return to Moscow. Back home, she immediately received a call from Uncle Ivan, summoning her to a quiet restaurant. There, he handed her the details of her first mission. Months earlier, an American CIA agent named Nathaniel Nash had orchestrated a daring escape in Russia. During a risky intelligence handoff in a park, police patrols nearly caught his informant. To save him, Nash boldly opened fire to create a distraction, allowing the man to flee while he sprinted to the safety of the U.S. Embassy. Though he left Russia afterward, he had recently resurfaced in Budapest. Now, Russian intelligence was determined to uncover the identity of his source, and Ivan wanted Dominika to get close to him. Dominika protested, unwilling to become a spy. But Ivan was manipulative. He promised that if she carried out this assignment, she would finally earn her freedom. With no other way out, she accepted. In Budapest, she was given quarters inside the Russian Security Bureau. Her assigned roommate was Marta, a seasoned operative who had survived the game for years. Marta warned her about the station chief, an old predator who preyed on young recruits. And sure enough, when he met Dominika, his eyes lit up, trying to draw closer. But she had no intention of wasting time on men like him. Her focus remained on the mission. Through the documents Ivan gave her, Dominika discovered a key detail about her target, Nash. He had a daily habit of swimming. Using this, she began tailing him quietly, watching from the poolside without making a move. That evening, she changed her look, dyeing her hair blonde to stand out. The next day, she officially signed up for a membership at the same swimming pool. But when it came time to fill in her details, she hesitated. At first, she considered using a fake identity. Then, after tearing up the form, she wrote her real name instead, a bold move that risked exposing her true identity to Nash. When Dominika walked by the pool in a striking swimsuit, Nash noticed her immediately. On her way out, he even stopped her. To her surprise, he revealed that he had already spotted her the day before, and even realized she had dyed her hair. It was clear. Nash wasn't fooled. He knew she was deliberately trying to approach him. Though she boarded the bus, looking slightly nervous, a faint smile appeared on her face. She had made contact. The following day, Dominika returned to the pool, but Nash didn't show up. When she went to return her locker key, the staff couldn't find her registration form. What she didn't know was that Nash had already stolen it. By then, he had learned everything about her, that she used to be a ballerina, and more importantly, that she was the niece of a top official in Russian intelligence. Nash immediately reported this to his superiors. To him, Dominika's choice to reveal her real name was no accident. He suspected she had deeper motives and decided to see if she could be turned to his side. Their paths crossed again soon after at an international wine reception. This time, both knew exactly who the other was. There was no pretense, no lies. Nash openly said he wanted to build trust with her, and they agreed to meet for dinner the following evening. That night, Dominika returned to her room, but her roommate Marta was still out. Taking the chance, she searched the room. In a hidden gap in the wall, she uncovered a paper package filled with intimate photographs, Marta with an American woman. Alongside them was a diary, which revealed that the woman was none other than the chief of staff to a U.S. senator. Flipping further, Dominika learned something even bigger. Marta was preparing for a secret intelligence exchange in London, worth a staggering $250,000. Just as she pieced this together, the door creaked open. Marta was back. Dominika quickly hid her discovery, but the knowledge she gained would change the game. When Marta returned, she handed Dominika a note. It was from the station chief, a rejection slip. Dominika had refused his advances, and in retaliation, the bitter old man reported her to higher authorities, claiming she had made no progress in her mission. Because of this, Dominika skipped her planned dinner with Nash the next evening. Instead, she secretly followed him home, determined to take a more direct approach. Standing at his doorstep, she rang the bell with tears in her eyes, pretending to be vulnerable, hoping her beauty would draw him in. But Nash wasn't fooled. Calmly, he told her to think carefully about what she truly wanted before crossing that line. For the first time, Dominika's tactics failed. Unable to read his mind, she was left shaken, tasting defeat in a game she usually controlled. Before leaving, she asked Nash if they could meet again. The next day, she waited for him at the pool, but Nash never appeared. Growing desperate, Dominika went back to his residence. Using her lock-picking skills, she broke inside to search for anything valuable. At first, the place seemed clean, but just as she was about to leave, she noticed 2 half-filled wine glasses still on the table from the night before. She quickly pocketed one with Nash's fingerprints as evidence. When she returned, her heart sank. Ivan was already there, summoned because of the station chief's report. He was furious that Dominika had produced nothing useful so far. Cornered, she quickly improvised. She revealed Marta's secret, that her roommate was preparing to sell intelligence to the Americans for $250,000. To protect herself, Dominika twisted the story, claiming it was a joint plan between her and Marta, and begged Ivan to give her the money in advance. Ivan, intrigued by the potential value of this information, decided not to punish her. For now, Dominika was safe. As Ivan prepared to leave, he suddenly remembered his coat. Dominika quickly fetched it for him, but in the process, she spotted his passport and discreetly memorized the number. After sending him off, she turned around only to find herself staring down the barrel of a gun. Marta was there, and she had overheard everything. Marta was furious. She accused Dominika of trying to steal the target she had spent over a year cultivating. Thinking fast, Dominika explained that Marta's payout would never reach the promised $250,000. But if they worked together, the director of Russian security could be pressured into funding the deal. Marta grew suspicious and asked why Dominika would risk everything on such a dangerous mission. In response, Dominika confessed a dangerous secret. She had once seen Ivan working alongside the mysterious assassin. Revealing this knowledge was risky. If word got out, Ivan himself would silence her. But now Marta's life was tied to hers, whether she wanted it or not. After the tense exchange, Dominika left for the train station and bought a ticket to Vienna. Later, she positioned herself outside a local bank. Through the glass, she identified an inexperienced young employee as her target. When closing time came, she slipped inside, pretending she urgently needed to open an account. The employee, flustered by her beauty and charm, agreed to meet for coffee and help her with the paperwork. Meanwhile, Marta wasn't finished. Still holding a grudge, she went directly to the station chief and revealed Dominika's vulnerabilities. That night, Dominika returned to her room, but something was wrong. Marta wasn't there. The bathroom door was slightly open, and inside she discovered a horrific scene. Marta had been brutally killed by the same assassin who strangled Dmitri. He spared Dominika's life only because she was Ivan's niece, but his warning was chilling. If she ever revealed his secret, she'd be the next one found in a bathtub. The local police investigated, but with no leads, they released her. Waiting outside the station was Nash. He had already been briefed. His team confirmed that Dominika was a Sparrow, a product of Russia's secret training program. Nash confronted her directly, comparing the CIA's methods with the cruelty of Russian intelligence, condemning how they used and discarded their own people like tools. Then he offered her a choice: switch sides and work for the CIA. He promised that, just like he protected his informant, he would protect her too. For the first time, Dominika began to waver. The offer of trust and safety was tempting. Finally, she agreed, and Nash escorted her to a CIA safe house in Budapest. At the CIA safe house, 2 senior officers were already waiting for Dominika. For security, they strapped her to a lie detector and pressed her with questions, trying to confirm whether she truly wanted to work with the US government. But for someone trained like Dominika, these kinds of tests were useless. She remained calm and unreadable throughout. When the questioning ended, she made her own demands. She wanted $30,000 deposited into her Vienna account every single month. The agents thought she was bold, even greedy, to ask for money without first offering valuable intel. But Dominika silenced their doubts by dropping a bombshell. She revealed that the chief of staff to a US senator was involved in selling missile secrets. The room froze. Suddenly, this Russian spy wasn't someone they could underestimate. The day of the deal came. In a London hotel room, $250,000 sat ready from the Russian side, while in a hidden drawer, the CIA had planted a fake disc. Downstairs in the bar, Dominika waited for her contact, Stephanie, the Senate Chief of Staff. But things didn't go as planned. The local station chief, Maxim, showed up. He claimed he was there to oversee the mission, but Dominika instantly recognized him as Ivan's watchdog. Furious at his interference, she chased him off to keep control of the operation. Moments later, Stephanie arrived. Seeing Dominika instead of Marta, she grew cautious and nearly walked away. But Dominika had done her homework. She knew Stephanie was drowning in debt, desperate for cash. Using that weakness, she convinced her to proceed. Once Stephanie saw the bag of money, her hesitation vanished. She handed over the disc. Dominika then moved to swap the fake disc in the desk's hidden compartment. But the process took too long, making Maxim suspicious. The CIA observer in the next room acted quickly, knocking on the door and posing as hotel staff, asking for feedback. The distraction gave Dominika the time she needed to finish the switch. The deal was complete. Dominika warned Stephanie to wait an hour before leaving, but greed got the better of her. Stephanie snatched the money and left immediately. While crossing the street, she noticed agents tailing her. Panicked, she tossed the bag into a trash bin and stumbled forward, only to be struck by a speeding truck. Just like that, she was dead. Outside the hotel, Russian agents witnessed the whole disaster and immediately phoned it in. Maxim, upon hearing the news, ordered his driver to head straight to the airport. He told Dominika they were flying back to Moscow at once. The director of Russian security wanted to personally congratulate them. Then, casually, he asked for her ticket and passport. Dominika recognized the danger instantly. This was no celebration. It was a trap. Still, she kept her composure and pretended everything was fine. Meanwhile, Nash had already secured the disc from the hotel and was preparing to leave when his phone rang. On the other end, his superiors delivered shocking news. Stephanie had just been killed in a sudden car accident. Nash instantly realized this would put Dominika's life in serious danger. Without wasting a second, he sped toward the airport, hoping he could somehow save her. At the terminal, he spotted her standing in line for boarding. Their eyes met. For a moment, Nash thought he could intervene, but Dominika subtly shook her head, silently warning him not to make a move. He understood immediately. She was walking into danger, but he was powerless to stop it. Back in Moscow, Dominika was brought straight into the headquarters of the Russian security service. Inside a cold interrogation room, she was accused of betraying her country and passing information to the Americans. She denied everything. No matter what they asked, she stayed firm. Her uncle Ivan, unwilling to believe her silence, gave the brutal order himself: use torture. Dominika was stripped of her dignity and locked in a freezing cell while icy water poured over her body. Hours later, she was dragged back into the interrogation chamber, the same question repeated over and over. Still, she refused to confess. The beatings grew harsher, pushing her to the brink. But even then, she held her ground. Then came a chilling twist. They played a video showing Maxim, the very officer who had returned with her, executed for supposed betrayal. Finally, the interrogator pressed a gun to her head, demanding an answer one last time. Dominika looked straight ahead, unbroken. The trigger clicked, but no bullet fired. It was only a test of loyalty, and Dominika had just proven she could endure anything. Just then, Ivan walked into the room and confronted Dominika directly. He demanded she stop lying and admit the truth. But Dominika stayed calm. She explained that every step she had taken, even getting close to Nash, was part of her assignment. She claimed it was the only way to gain the Americans' confidence and eventually uncover the real mole. Ivan wanted to believe her. After all, sparrows were trained to do anything to complete a mission. Seeing his niece looking fragile and broken, his suspicions softened. For the moment, he let her go. But when Ivan reported back, the higher-ups weren't convinced. The director and the headmaster both felt Dominika was manipulating him. To protect his own position, Ivan swore that if he found any proof of her betrayal, he'd eliminate her himself. Dominika, meanwhile, returned to Budapest and reconnected with Nash. Deep down, she knew he would never give up the informant's name, which meant her days were numbered. Pretending she was still in control, she asked Nash for protection and requested that $250,000 be moved into her account in Vienna. Nash agreed, thinking he had finally earned her trust. But the game was far from over. One morning, Dominika woke up alone in bed. Nash was gone. When she went to the kitchen, she froze. A Russian assassin had a wire wrapped around Nash's throat, slowly strangling him. Without hesitation, Dominika pretended to join the attacker. She even helped tie Nash's hands, playing the role of loyal sparrow. The killer briefly loosened his grip, then pulled out a disturbing set of medical tools. blades and scalpels used in hospitals for skin grafts. But here, they were meant for torture. He wanted Nash to break and give up the name of the American informant. Dominika showed no emotion as she watched. She even asked to hold the tools herself. But the moment the assassin lowered his guard, she struck. She had been pretending all along, waiting for the perfect chance to save Nash. The fight turned brutal. The assassin came at them with a knife, but Dominika and Nash fought back desperately. In the chaos, she slashed the tendons in his legs, dropping him to the ground. Without hesitation, she finished him off. The next thing Dominika remembered, she was waking up in a hospital bed. Physically, she was stable, but politically, she was trapped. The assassin's death meant the Russians would know she had betrayed them, and that's when the headmaster appeared at her bedside. She assumed he was there to end her life, but instead, he revealed a shocking truth. He was the informant all along. Years earlier, when his wife needed life-saving surgery, the Russian government refused to let an American doctor operate. She died, and his grief pushed him to secretly work with the CIA. But now he was tired of the double life. He told Dominika she had the skills to take his place. If she exposed him as the traitor, she could clear her own name, survive, and step into his role as the new inside source for the Americans. After that shocking twist, Dominika decided it was time to make her move. She went straight to the Budapest police and confessed to killing the assassin. But instead of surrendering, she demanded to be handed over to the Russian embassy. When she arrived, Dominika insisted on speaking directly with the director of Russian intelligence. On the phone, she gave him the name of the supposed traitor inside the agency and used this information as leverage to bargain for her own life. Meanwhile, the headmaster quietly returned home. He didn't resist, didn't even lock the door. He just sat on the sofa, waiting for the inevitable knock at his door. Back at the airport, Dominika was handed over for the spy exchange. And the CIA was already waiting there, and Nash looked at her with bitter disappointment, believing she had finally revealed the mole's identity. Then came the moment of truth. A Russian helicopter landed, bringing the captured informant. When the hood was lifted, Nash was stunned. It wasn't the headmaster at all. It was Ivan, Dominika's uncle. Only then did Nash realize he had been deceived, but he couldn't expose her now. The exchange had already been confirmed. In reality, Dominika had given the director her uncle's name instead. Investigators had quickly uncovered evidence against him. A wine glass at his home, a secret Vienna account with the same $250,000 the CIA had wired, and encrypted data traced directly to him. The case against Ivan was airtight. With no way out, Ivan whispered his final words into Dominika's ear, then walked toward the Americans. But before he could take another step, hidden Russian snipers opened fire, ending his life on the spot. No traitor would be allowed to leave alive. Dominika, on the other hand, was escorted back to Russia as a national hero. Even the headmaster, sitting among the officials, applauded her performance with approval. In the end, Dominika had outplayed everyone. She replaced her uncle and rose to power within Russian intelligence, while still holding her position as a Sparrow, a double agent caught between two superpowers, forced to keep playing the deadly game of survival. And that wraps up the story of Red Sparrow, a spy thriller filled with betrayal, mind games, and one of the most shocking endings in recent spy movies. Dominika Egorova proved that in the world of espionage, trust is nothing but an illusion, and survival means playing both sides until the very end. If you enjoyed this Red Sparrow Explained video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Starz Recapped for more movie breakdowns, ending explained videos, and thriller movie recaps just like this one. Let us know in the comments, did you expect Dominika to betray her uncle instead of the headmaster? And what did you think about that final twist? Thanks for watching Red Sparrow Movie Recap. Stay tuned, because we've got more spy thriller explanations and Hollywood movie recaps coming your way.